have a problem.
Hey everybody, I'm so glad you're joining us for the final week in our series called Into the Unknown. What this series is all about is how we deal with the unknowns and the changes we experience in life. Some changes are really easy to deal with, while others can be super challenging. When we experience the unknowns that go along with the changes in our lives, we all have different ideas about how they make us feel. Maybe you think some changes are good, like starting a new spot on the team, or a new friend in your small group, or a growth spurt that finally makes you tall enough to ride that one cool roller coaster. No matter what kind it is, change is something that we're all going to experience. I want to read a little bit of a letter written by a guy named James. Here's a fun fact about James. He was actually the half-brother of Jesus. It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, can you imagine if the guy you shared your bathroom with, that you sat at the dinner table with, that left his socks all over the house was not just your brother, but was actually the Son of God? That was real life for James, and eventually he grew to be a believer and a follower of Jesus as well. Before we get to what James wrote in his letter, let me give you a little bit of background on what was going on at the time. During one of Jesus' last talks with his followers on earth, he told them that they needed to be a witness in their hometown and beyond. And what does that mean? Basically, they had to be people who would spread the message of Jesus to people where they lived and to places all over the world. And in order to do that, Jesus' followers had to make a change. They had to be willing to leave where they were and go out into the world and tell other people about Jesus. Now, of course, his followers were on board with the message of Jesus, but the idea of having to leave their homes and share that message with other people in other places, well, that was a change that they seemed too scared to make. So at first, most of them stayed right where they were at. But then something really awful happened. The early Christians who followed Jesus back then started to get harmed and threatened because of their beliefs. Some of them were even killed. And because of this happening, people ran from their cities and their homes in order to stay safe. So with all that going on, James wrote a letter to encourage his fellow Christians during this scary change. And here's what he wrote to them. Okay, let's get real for a second. None of us wants to actually do this, right? Consider our troubles a reason to have joy. The changes we're going through, the difficult stuff we need to live better lives. We're supposed to have joy in that? No, thank you. Well, before we throw this letter completely, let's just read one more thing. See, the reason we can find joy in the hard stuff is because those changes and troubles are for a reason. In fact, they can lead us to do something really great in our lives: endurance. Maybe you've heard this word before. The word endurance is usually associated with athletics. When we train and work hard, over time our bodies will get better at what we're doing. The more we run, the longer we'll be able to run eventually. That's because we've built up an endurance. The more we do it, the stronger we will become. The endurance James wrote about works the same way. When we take a step towards making a change, we're working on building our endurance. When we decide to study more and pass that class, we do it once. Then we do it again, and we do it again and again. Is it easy? No. But the more we do it, the easier it will get. The more we show up and keep trying and keep working through the change, the stronger we will be. And the stronger we are, the more endurance we'll gain to keep working toward that change in our lives. And that endurance can help you be more confident when everything changes. Essentially, James was saying that practice makes perfect. In other words, working toward change by pushing through the pain and the hard stuff doesn't just make you better at the thing that you're working on. It actually makes you better at change. You're developing the kind of endurance that will help you when you face any unknowns. And that's important because change and going into the unknown is something that we're gonna face for the rest of our lives. Building endurance by making change now can help you better at these changes when you are a grown adult. God can use the unknown to make you stronger. God can give us strength to step out and make positive changes in our lives. God can help us build our endurance. God can help us be confident when everything changes, and that will help us stand strong when we face changes that we choose and changes that we don't. Of course, I realize that this idea doesn't get everybody excited about deciding to make change in their life. Honestly, I think it probably felt that way for the people reading James's letter back then. I mean, these people were making a change to avoid being killed. That's a pretty risky thing to do, but James was trying to remind them of the same thing I want us to remember today. Even when it's hard and uncomfortable and painful to go through, God can use that change to do something within us. God can use that change to change us from the inside out. I don't know about you, but just the idea of that is enough to make me want to give it a try, to start building the kind of endurance that can help me handle the change, to start believing that God can use the unknown to make us stronger. I want to encourage you to try a couple of things this week. First, name one area of your life that you want to see change. Maybe it's your grades or your friend group or your TikTok habit or your relationship with your mom. Maybe it's even your relationship with God. Whatever it is, think about just one part of your life that you think you could benefit from a change. Then I want you to take just one step toward making that change. Just one. Maybe you choose to study for 15 minutes more, sit at a new lunch table, or you choose to put your phone away at a certain time every night, or you offer to help your mom with the cleaning. Even if it feels difficult, I want you to just give it a try. And then I want you to try it again. Keep trying it, in fact. Build a little endurance to make that change when it gets easier. Thank God for helping you build that endurance. And when it gets hard, ask God for a little help to keep you going. To remember that the work you're building and the work you're working towards is to help build your endurance. I know that making a change and going into the unknown can feel really scary. And it can be easy to think that you're the only one trying to figure it out. The truth is, you're not alone when it comes to navigating this whole change thing. That's actually why we have the landing. So you can share what's going on in your life and what you're going through and to encourage one another along the way. So this week when we're struggling or a friend is struggling, let's remember that God can use the unknown to make us stronger.